Dell'Amore with Power Food. I have an amazing program for you, homemade baked eggplant parmesan. I love this dish. I love this recipe. I love this class. I love my programmer. She's amazing. We're going to get started. First thing I'm going to do is peel my eggplant. Now remember, when you buy the eggplant, try to buy the eggplant with a rounded end. A rounded end, not an end with two dimples or so. That's a female eggplant with the dimple and a round hole. That's going to have more seeds than a male eggplant, which looks like this, just a round, nice stem, okay? Look for that when you purchase. Then I peel the eggplant. I have it nice and flat here. I've sliced some of it off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to slice thin slivers. Now, I've been doing this recipe for a number of years with the oven. I've never fried the eggplant. Remember, the eggplant, frying it on the stovetop, it's going to soak up a lot of oil. Much healthier when we use the oven. So what I've done is I've preheated my oven up to 400 degrees, okay? And what I'm doing again is just slicing this very thinly, okay? If you prefer to slice it on an angle on its end like this, you could slice it very thinly like this. Just takes a little bit of practice, okay? Either way, now, what I'm going to do is finish cutting this, and then we're going to place it in our egg wash. Now, what I want to recommend to you is a couple things. Always use only one egg. Do not use two eggs. You'll be waiting for the egg to drip off the eggplant. Trust me, I've been doing this a long time. Use one egg at a time, okay? Now, I place all of the slices in the egg wash at once. You see this? This I'm going to make carbonadina with later, okay? But what I'm going to do here is I'm saving time, and I'm never touching the eggplant after this point. I'm just using a fork here. And the egg wash is used to coat the eggplant so that we can then the breadcrumbs will stick to it, okay? So you see that I'm dripping. I'm allowing the egg to drip off the eggplant. Now, here I have a high-walled plastic container. It has to be high-walled. And I've only filled it so that the bottom is covered, okay? I'm going to take my eggplant and I plop it right in. Then I'm going to take my next slice of eggplant that is covered with egg, okay? You see? Perfectly covered with my egg. And while it's dripping, I'm shaking, and this is going to be done in 2 seconds. Done. I don't even have to flip it. This is finished dripping, so it goes right in. Now, for my tray, I'm going to use about a 1-inch high rimmed tray, and I'm going to use a little canola oil. We're using high heat here in the oven. No need to use the extra virgin olive oil. This canola oil works really well. If you prefer pure olive oil, that's fine. Okay, and these are now going to go, okay, so first I'm going to take my eggplant in my egg wash, and I'm doing 2 things at once. I'm letting it drip, and I'm shaking, and as you can see, this is done. So it goes, this one is done dripping, so this goes right here, and we're going to place these like this. Okay, now I always put the thickest pieces towards the edges or the corners, okay? Now, rather than start shaking this, I'm going to let it drip. This one, I'm going to watch it drip as I shake, so I'm doing 2 things at once. I can't stand just standing there and watching the egg drip. I have to be productive. So I'm doing 2 things at once. It's a new technique to save time. You're not touching the eggplant in the egg, getting the egg all over your fingers. Okay, so this is dripping, and this is shaking, and that's done, and then it goes right in. And you can see I can move through this pretty fast. Okay. So again, as one is dripping, now we don't want the egg to stay on the eggplant. We need it to drip off the excess. Otherwise, it's going to make the breadcrumbs clumpy. This is done. And we're going to take these last couple and let them drip. And they're going right in. Okay. And this high wall plastic container works great because it is very light and you don't have to flip them. You know, it's just so easy to do this. You can have kids help you. Okay. This is going to be ready in a minute. I have a little egg here, so I'm going to take a little bit more eggplant. Okay, and we're just going to soak these eggplants here. And again, I'm going to take my knife with my finger on the top of the blade. Now the blade is an extension of my finger. And the key is really to slice the eggplant thinly. That's how the eggplant comes out. That ensures it coming out perfect every time. It's going to cook faster. It's going to cook all the way through. And again, this is a labor of love, but it certainly is a meal fit for a king. Okay. This is done. And again, I have 1 egg per eggplant that I like to use. If you use 2 eggs, you'll be waiting all day for that egg to dredge off the eggplant. Again, we're just letting it drip onto the other slices, and then it goes right in my breadcrumbs. Okay, I'm going to take another one from the bottom that's been submerged in the egg. Make sure it's covered on both sides. Okay, and again, this is just a little bit of time management here to get this done quickly so that we can bake it. So what we're going to do is we're going to bake this eggplant twice. We're going to bake the individual slices, and then we're going to put it all together with some Parmesan, mozzarella cheese and some delicious homemade sauce, which I've also included in my recipe, which everyone should have. Okay, this is going in the oven. Now, when we work with the oven, we have 2 trays, an upper and lower. This always goes, first tray always goes on the bottom. Remember, I'm set at 400. What I want to do is cook this eggplant through. Okay, you see it going in? Now, I have already started a tray for us here, and I want to show you what it looks like. Okay, these have been in there, and now I'm going to flip these. Okay, so I just take my fork. Now, whenever you're working with the eggplant, you never pick it up in the middle. You pick it up on the end. Okay, sometimes they stick a little bit. Now you see there's no oil on this pan. The eggplant has soaked up the olive oil, and now I can just flip these. And this is what we must do with each batch of eggplant slices. We have to cook them on both sides. We're just using a little bit of oil and the heat of the oven to cook these through, and they come out perfect every time. Now, when you use the oven, you do not need to use any technique with salt or anything to get rid of any of the bitterness of the eggplant. It doesn't happen when you use the oven, okay? This is gonna go back in. Now, we always use the lower tray first, okay? And then if I have a second tray, it goes on the top. Then when the lower tray is done, we should bring it out, and then we move the upper tray to the lower tray, okay? So what we're going to do is produce these beautiful thin slices of eggplant, baked eggplant, okay? These are absolutely delicious just like this. I love putting these in a salad, cutting them up. It's fantastic. In fact, my last batch, what I like to do is leave it in the oven, shut off the oven, and it forms like a crispy burnt eggplant slice. It's not burned, it's just super crispy and crunchy, and it's absolutely delectable. Okay, let me show you how we're gonna make the eggplant parmesan. Okay, for this step, you need a little bit higher wall tray, any tray that you like. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we assemble the eggs. And what I prepared for us this morning is 2 cans of sauce here. The recipe is included. I'll go over it with you in a few minutes. But what I want to show you is this technique. What we're going to do is we're going to take our sauce and we're going to ladle it into the bottom, and we're going to use the back of the spoon to paint the sauce on the tray. You see, I'm using the back of a flat spoon. And this is the amount of sauce you need on the bottom. So this is so the first layer does not stick. That's it, okay? And then, what we're gonna do, oh, I gotta get my cheese, I'm sorry, excuse me. Now, we could use a box grater to take our part skim mozzarella or full fat mozzarella, and we can shred it. I prefer to dice it. And this, I found really works well. I don't like to have to clean that grater afterwards. I think you lose a lot of the soft cheese in the grater. The grater works well if the cheese is partially frozen, but it's a lot of work. I'd rather use my nice chef's knife and dice up the cheese, and it's easy to work with, and there's no waste and no big cleanup. Okay, to assemble our, move this over here. To assemble our eggplant, what we're going to do is we're going to layer the eggplant. Now, when you purchase the eggplant, try to buy the same size eggplant, because you're going to be layering these slices one on top of the other and cutting around them to serve them. This is the way I love to do it. It comes out perfect every time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to lay down the eggplant slices like so, and I like to alternate them. And so in this fashion, they fit perfectly in my pan. You see? So I have one layer of eggplant, okay, and I'm going to fill these in with some smaller pieces. Okay. And this can go really fast, just like this. Now, after my slices of eggplant, I'm going to take my sauce, and we're going to do a little sauce. I use the back of the spoon to paint the sauce, just a little bit on each eggplant slice. And then again, I use the back of the spoon to spread it out, okay? And we're going to repeat this process with eggplant, sauce, and cheese until we come to the top of this. Okay, so we have our sauce. Now I'm going to take my cheese. I've got to check on those slices in there. It smells amazing. Okay. Okay, and that's it. You see, no measurements, just hand, just enough by hand. Next, I'm going to take another slice about the same size as the ones that are on the bottom, and we're going to just match them like this. Okay, and again, when you make this, you're not making this for one meal. If you're having a party or you're going to a party, this is the meal that everyone always asks me to bring. But this will serve 4 people, at least 2 meals. Okay, I'm going to take this like this, place this here, and I've got my slices evenly stacked. And then I'm going to take my spoon of sauce. I don't put a whole ladle on each one. I take the sauce and drag it across, you see, and then I use the back of the spoon to paint the sauce on the slices. So just imagine what's going on here when we bake. We're going to bake this again in the oven at about 250. Okay. Okay. here we are, ready for some more cheese, okay? Now, when you order this in the restaurant, they're using full-fat cheese. A lot of times they use a white cheddar cheese because it's cheaper than mozzarella. Very high fat. I say go with the part skim mozzarella when you purchase it at home, when you make it at home. Okay, so this is like so. Now I'm going to go another layer. Let's see. And as you can see, you can prepare this the day before and then assemble it. You know, you can slice the eggplant and bake it the first round and then go back the next day and just prepare this, finish preparing this like so. Okay. This is going to be delicioso. One of my favorite dishes. My mother taught me this recipe. Okay, I'm going to take my spoon, and this is going to just be absolutely delicious. You cannot get this in a restaurant like this, guys. I'm telling you. They fry the eggplant, much healthier. I think much more delicious because there's a fraction of the oil when you cook it in the oven. Okay, this is going to be so good. Okay, just a little bit more cheese here, and then we're good to go. Okay, and that's it. Let me show you how I like to cut the cheese. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check on my eggplant wedges, show you what they look like. Okay, okay, these are done. Look at these guys. They're done. So they're coming out. Now the ones that I prepared here for us, these are almost done. I need a little bit more browning of the breadcrumbs, and so this is going to go back on the bottom tray. I'm not flipping that yet. And this tray is going to go in a glass jar or some kind of glass vessel. And you can see that these. Let me show you what this looks like. As we pick these up, and we always pick it up from the ends, you see? I mean, this is just so thin, wisps of the eggplant. When you stack them one on top of the other with the cheese and the sauce in between, it's delectable. Now, there's no Parmesan in this recipe. It's called eggplant Parmesan because it is eggplant with cheese, but you could add the Parmesan at the end, okay? Some grated Parmesan would be delicious. Okay, this is gonna go here. My other tray is almost ready to flip. I like to shake it once. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna turn these guys so I don't have to worry about it. No, we're gonna let them cook a little bit more. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut up a little bit more cheese. I wanna show you what I like to do. So I never buy the cheese grated already. It's a real way to spend a lot of money when you don't have to. Rather buy it like this.
You know what I'm saying?
Part skim mozzarella.
Oops.
Buy it on sale.
I do that.
Buy 3 of them. Put 2 in the freezer, 1 in your refrigerator. I like to keep it in the
Sometimes I
plastic.
like to sign in as a guest
Why
because
is it switching back to you?
Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice it in
I just
I'm going to slice it thinly like so. And then I stack them one on top of the other and slice them into strips. And I always end up eating one of these. Oh. Then I turn it 90 degrees and I just produce a nice rough dice of the cheese. And you can see there's no waste at all. All I have to do is clean this knife and the cutting board. This goes back in the plastic container, plastic wrap. I put it in a little Ziploc, and this is good to go. Okay, so always buy the cheese on sale, $2.50, $2.99. Never pay $5.99 if you can help it. And remember, the mozzarella freezes really, really well. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more cheese to the top here. And it's going to just be heaven, okay? Let's do this. This is going right in, 400 degrees. Actually, when we put this back in here, we could put it in at 250, okay? That's what I like doing, cook it slow. But for the purposes of this program, I want to get this done. I'm going to have that finished in about 15 minutes. Okay, so I discussed with you and showed you a proven way to save time. This is a maiden to shake the breadcrumbs onto the sliced eggplant. You need a high wall. You need plastic so it's lightweight. If you have ceramic, you can do it like this, okay? But try this technique instead of doing one at a time. You slice the eggplant, it all goes in the egg wash, you pull from the bottom. As one drips, you're shaking the other one and you move through it, okay? Just a little bit of canola oil on my tray, 400 degrees, you're good to go. Okay, my cheese, you can use an egg grater, cheese grater if you like. I prefer to cube it, comes out perfect every time. Now, my sauce is a simple recipe that I love. It was my mother's recipe. 25-minute marinara sauce. So no onions, no meat, no cheese, just tomato, olive oil, and garlic, okay? So I like to use the Tutarossa or the red pack. I think the red pack is really good. The Tutarossa is sometimes very good too. I like to use crushed tomato, and I also like to combine that with whole peel plum. So this can of whole peel plum is going to go in my NutriBullet for literally 4 seconds. It's infused with air from the motor of the blades, and it turns orange. It's incredible. It will return back to its red color, but this is going to give us a really nice, even pulp. Just a few seconds in the NutriBullet. These are peeled plum tomatoes, a lot of flavor with a can of crushed. If you don't have the peeled plum, just 2 cans of crushed. Okay, to those 2 cans, I'm adding 2 large cloves of garlic. And what I first do is mince the garlic, and in my pot, I'm going to add about, I don't know, 2-3 tablespoons of olive oil on the bottom of the pot. And we're going to saute the garlic until it browns. And you want to make sure that you do not burn the garlic. So I'll take my pot off the heat and just shake it around so that the garlic flavor is infused into the olive oil. Then I'll add my 2 cans of tomatoes. Another trick is to use a spoon. It does not have to be wooden. It can be plastic. Any utensil, pour the tomato or any liquid onto the spoon and it will prevent it from splattering. Another little professional trick. Okay, to those 2 cans of tomatoes, I'm going to add some oregano, some basil, some black pepper. You could add salt if you like. I don't add any salt because I'm using quality tomatoes. And 1 bay leaf per can of tomatoes, so 2 bay leaves. Okay, I like to add the oregano, which is usually found not in a marinara sauce, but in a pizza sauce. But I think it just brings so much flavor. I love to add it. And this is what we do in the kitchen. We do what we love, what our family loves. And I think the oregano and basil combination in this is really top, okay? Quality tomatoes, good olive oil, adequate garlic, and the bay leaves, and do not be shy with these spices. These are going to bring bold flavors, and you want your sauce to be bold. You want it to be big body, big flavor, okay? A nice glass of Chianti or Cabernet with it, right? You want that sauce with a lot of flavor. Don't be shy with those dry herbs, okay? This will stay in the refrigerator for a week, 10 days. Let's go ahead and check on our slices, okay? What do we got? What do we got? Okay. Oh my God, this is gonna be amazing. Okay, so you can see that these are cooking perfectly. They're browning. I'm gonna flip them and we're gonna cook them another 5 minutes. You notice how I picked them up at the end. I never pick them up in the middle, always on one end. And this is gonna go back in. And my eggplant is gonna be done. That big tray is gonna be done in less than 5 minutes. So I would love to answer any questions if anybody has any. Let me go around to the other side. Does anyone have any questions? Let's check the chat.
Not yet, Bob. No messages in the chat.
Okay, good. Okay, great.
Nothing
Okay,
yet.
I'm gonna check on this tray. Let's take a look, see what it looks like. This is eggplant parmesan perfection, guys. Look at this. It's steaming. I'm gonna cook the cheese a little bit more. Just a little bit. Look at the color of these. Look at this. You see just a fraction of the oil versus in a saucepan on the stove. These are essentially done. I'm going to keep these here. And again, when I move them, I just take them from the edge. You know, I'm going to cook them just a little bit more. Cook them through. What's really important is to make sure that you cook the eggplant all the way through. Another quick mention is I like to take a paper towel and my tray with these beautifully browned, roasted breadcrumbs. I like to reserve these breadcrumbs and put them on a salad. They're delicious, absolutely delicious. And I keep a container in the cupboard there with these, and these are just delicious. I love to eat them even with a spoon. Just scoop them out. They're crunchy and delicious. Oh, that's delicious on a salad. So I like to reserve those. And I keep them in a container like this. That's going to soak in my sink. And let's take a peek at this tray one more time. Tell you how I like to serve it. Okay, so this is eggplant parmesan perfection. You can see the individual slices. This is where I'm going to cut. I'm not going to cut in the slices of eggplant. I'm going to cut around them and I'm going to serve each of my guests one serving around each stack of the eggplant. Okay, that's going to do it for me. If there are any other questions, now's the time. Homemade eggplant parmesan, we did it in 45 minutes, guys. Try this at home. Try the recipe for the sauce. Any comments, please let the library know in a comment. It'd be wonderful what you thought of the program if you liked it. Okay, let's check on those other eggplants and slices and we should be good to go. I just want to show you what it looks like when it's done. Look at that. Okay, and again, you can break up this procedure. You can do this baking and then reserve these as I did when I prepared these yesterday. And then they're ready to go with the layering of the sauce and the cheese. Okay, eggplant perfection. Peace. I'm out. All right, Lori, that's gonna wrap it. Lori, are you there? Everyone, I'm gonna say thank you again. Have a wonderful weekend. Chef Dell'Amore. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Take care. Thank you for the comments, guys.